All right, man. So Kamala Harris is surging, and this is incredibly important because this surge amongst this group could legitimately turn the election for Kamala Harris. She might need this. She probably does need this group. It's a group that Biden was really struggling with before he dropped out. And what ended up happening is it looks like Kamala Harris is making some pretty heavy gains with Hispanic voters. He was doing really, really poorly. And generally speaking, in the past, you kind of need a certain number. You need kind of like close to the 60s. And somewhere in the early 60s in that area to be able to win. I think Bill Clinton might have won to like 53 or something, but that's an outlier though. And so this is really, really huge, especially because states like Arizona are now so heavy, Nevada, these are really, really important states. So you really need to do well with this group. But on this topic, we have good news. This is published yesterday. It says Kamala Harris more than triples gap with Hispanic voters in 1 month poll. It says Vice President Kamala Harris's lead among Hispanic voters has more than tripled since she entered the 2024 presidential race, according to polling conducted by the Economist and YouGov. While Republicans have gained momentum with Hispanic voters in recent election years, Harris's candidacy has again tilted the crucial voting coalition towards Democrats since launching her campaign on July 21st. According to a survey released Wednesday, Harris currently holds a 20-point lead, 54-34, among Hispanic voters compared to her rival, former President Donald Trump. The poll includes responses from 1368 U.S. registered voters who were surveyed between August 17th and 20th. So it's very recent polling numbers, not even like the mid-August 17 and 20. It says, previous polls from the Economist YouGov show that Harris's lead among registered Hispanic voters is slowly increasing. In a survey released last week, VP was leading Trump 49-34. At the start of the month, Harris was ahead 51-36. So she went from 49-34 up to 54-34. So she upped her numbers by 5 points. It says Harris's 20-point gap is a significant jump from the lead she held among Hispanic voters in the first few days of her campaign. In the Economist YouGov poll conducted between July 21st and 23rd, the vice president was winning among registered Hispanic voters 44-38. So for reference, if you have a 44-38, there's pretty much no possible way for you to win if you're a Democrat. And it goes on to explain this. It says, Harris's moment is a good sign for Democrats, given that President Joe Biden appeared to be losing Hispanic voters to support earlier this year. According to a June survey by the NYT Siena College, the president was winning Hispanic voters by 1 percentage point. Oh my God, 45-44. In a survey conducted by the Times Siena late last month, Harris was winning by 19 points over Trump, 57-38. This is a massive margin, and just for reference, I don't think it's even possible for a Democrat to be able to win the election if they're only getting 45% of the Hispanic vote. To be fair, I think a lot of it ended up being the young Hispanic vote, which I think probably would have converged towards Biden anyways. But the thing is, Biden, I think, is kind of uniquely worse with Hispanic voters. I don't know if you guys remember the 2020 primary, but for some reason, they really just dislike Joe Biden. They hate him a lot. But they really helped Bernie Sanders a lot in the election back in 2020, the primary. They really carried California for him, too. It was kind of like a protest kind of thing as well. So Biden always had these really big issues with Hispanic voters, and there's just no possible way to win with 45-44. It's just completely impossible. You would have had to have prayed for better numbers, but this is just too low. It just doesn't happen. It's impossible. But the good news is she's up to 57%. This is closer to where you want to be able to win. It's not exactly where you want to be at, but it's definitely making a lot of progress. So we got some more polling as well, some Hispanic surging, which is super, super important for us. So this is polling, Hispanic voter polling from Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Texas. I wish they didn't have Texas because who cares about Texas? It's not going blue. These other ones are super important, however. So in the month of April, Biden was at 47% to Trump's 34%, which is a 13% margin. Kennedy is getting 12%. GQR Research Vote Latino. In August, Harris is getting 60% to Trump's 29%. So you can see there's a double whammy effect where not only has Harris gained 13 points on Biden, but she's also eating Donald Trump. So she's actually eating Trump. And so we see that she's actually been eating Trump with the double haters too, because in the video, if you go back and watch it where I talked about the double hater numbers, not only is she increasing her share of double haters who support her over Trump, she's actually eating from Trump's numbers as well. Like she's not just pulling undecideds, but she's also pulling from Trump as well. Trump's share actually of double haters went down as well. So there's a double whammy effect happening where not only does she appear to be boosting her own numbers, but she also seems to be eating Trump as well, which is really, really good. So massive surge. I mean, 13-point boost here. 60% is a little bit, is definitely on the high end for sure, but this is just specifically in these states. these are the states that we care about, obviously. So if these numbers are doing better, that's actually even better. So this is actually a good sign. And then we have this website. It's a pretty cool website if you want to check it out. It's as-coa.org. I recommend you check it out. They have some really, really dope info. It says poll tracker, the Latino vote in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. I really recommend checking it out. Really great information here. But we can see here that these are some of the polls. So for the NYTCN, the poll is 5738. The Noticias Univision YouGov poll was 5538. This one is from July 22nd to 24th. And then this is the one from August 10th to 15th. But you can see kind of a gender breakdown. So 50 to 59, or 50% of men, 59% of women. So women definitely being more towards Kamala Harris, but not like by an insane amount. You know, I think Hispanic voters, I think a lot of them, especially the Mexicans, like Mexico is like heavily Catholic. I said Catholic. So I think they kind of lean more conservative, and that leads to why the whole Texas blue theorem has failed so far. Because I remember when I was a kid, and I was like 4 or whatever, everyone was talking about how Texas was going to be the next one to turn blue because the Mexicans were going to, come in and whatever. It hasn't happened. I think a lot of the Mexicans come over and have this us versus them mentality with the people across the border. They kind of come in and they're like, hey, well, it's me now. And so I want a path to citizenship, but be strong on the border, basically. Age gaps you can see here. I think a lot of the makeup of the Hispanic voters is actually on the lower side. There's not as many 65 pluses, but not enough of a share of the 18 to 29. So you're going to have to bolster your numbers here, basically, to really be able to boost it. And I think this is kind of going to be where you can get the boost from. We can see the numbers by country as well here, 58, 58, 45, 50. Tim Walz is much more favored, pretty interestingly enough. So he's 40 to 26. That's a 13% margin. That's pretty much the highest margin he has almost anywhere in terms of states. J.D. Vance, almost negative 20, so those are good numbers there. Harris is at 56 to 37 here is what they have. And then they're showing that Biden's support was 46%, and then there was a boost of 10% for Harris. So she has an overall plus 10. For under 40, she has an additional plus 17. Even amongst male voters, so it's pretty crazy. So according to their numbers, she's stimming the male voters harder than she's stimming the women voters, which is pretty interesting. Maybe it's because maybe the women voters were already higher. I'm not sure. But I guess maybe there's more like a conservative Latino women than you would think. They also say that the economy is their number one issue. You have abortion rights is an important one as well. They say that they trust Harris to be more helpful to give them a pathway to citizenship, but they say that Trump is better on the border. So I think a lot of, probably Hispanics are like, I want citizenship, but I want you to lock up the border so other Latinos can't come in, which is messed up, man. That's really messed up. Another really interesting thing here also, this is huge. So there's an article in the Financial Times, I didn't bring it up, but you can check it out. It's an article talking about how like Pennsylvania is slipping from Trump's grasp or something like that. Really good article. But it talks about how in Pennsylvania there's a very large growing Hispanic vote, and Kamala Harris is the only one trying to reach out to them. So it says, due diligence, Pennsylvania Hispanic voters shift heavy to Harris following Biden's exit. A new poll says that 49% of Hispanic Pennsylvanians plan to vote for Harris, a 10 percentage point jump over Biden earlier this year. So pretty interesting here. And it also goes on to talk about, so it's saying, whereas 39% of Hispanic voters in the Commonwealth say they definitely plan to vote for Biden just for his announcement, 49% say the same about Harris, so she's stimmed it by 10%. And it talks about how there's a really massive growth number in terms of the Hispanic voters. So there's 392,000 registered voters, which is 5% of the electorate. It projects that 318,000 will vote. That's an increase of 70% since 2016 when he won. And it says, by comparison, the nation's non-Hispanic voting population increased by less than 40%. So a much higher increase. And then there's also like a much younger boost. It says it's with the median age of 34. This could legitimately potentially be the deal breaker for the state of Pennsylvania. Interestingly enough, this also mentions how economic issues are the most important thing. So really, really big news here. Also, we have Harris gained support across demographics compared to Biden. So we can see this graphic here. It says overall plus 5, Democrats plus 7, Independents plus 9, Black plus 12, Hispanic plus 6, Young plus 17, Women plus 7, College educated plus 3, and non-college educated plus 5. So we can see that there's clearly like this boost going on. Biden ended up getting 59%. You can see here if you look at this, the Pew Research numbers here. So Biden ended up getting 59. In 2018, it was 72-25, and then Hispanic was 66-28 with Hillary. So Hillary did pretty good. 66 is a solid number with Hispanic voters. So Hillary did pretty good in 2016. So if Kamala can boost this, maybe this Florida become in play. I'm not really sure, but probably not. But still, be interesting. Make it a little more interesting. But you definitely want to stem these numbers higher because Hillary did better by 7 points. So you want to be able to stem those numbers higher. So can she get into those 60s? I definitely think she can. How is she going to be able to pull them? It's not exactly clear. They say that the most important issue is going to be that. And then Arizona is just going to be huge, man. Arizona is just such a close race right now. And so it's really going to come down to the wire. And in the state of Arizona, we have a 1.2 point lead. And so she's taken this almost close, record-setting lead for herself in this aggregate. So it's going to be really, really huge. And so I think that's going to be absolutely massive. This is huge, and it's really a requirement just to be able to win. To be able to win the election, you have to be able to get a certain percentage of Hispanics, and Biden just simply wasn't cutting it. She is now in that territory, at least already she's pretty close. It's really kind of a requirement, kind of like if you're applying to graduate school, you need like a certain GRE score, but it's not going to help you though. You're just going to get cut out if you're too low. So I think with this, it can help you in Arizona and Nevada. It could help you in Arizona, but she at least needs to hit a threshold of you at least need to get 59 at bare minimum. But you want to get into the 60s or get close to Hillary's numbers if you can, man. That'd be really helpful. So another huge, huge dub for Harris. Huge, huge surge. I'll mention this briefly. It says that Harris builds 13-point lead over Trump with women. So she's also surging with women voters as well pretty massively. This is going to be absolutely huge. And Trump has a lead in the same poll of only 7 amongst men. And women actually vote more. So it's a double vote lead. And then women actually vote more than men do. And so I think Roe versus Wade is probably playing a big role in it. Again, I don't know why, because, Kamala and Biden, I'm not really sure what their big difference is on reproductive rights, if any. But super fascinating to see what's going on. Huge, huge surge happening. And this Hispanic vote requirement, it's a requirement, and she's getting closer to actually reaching it.